You need me to turn on any lights or anything?
No, I think it's fine. Okay, thanks. We'll see.
Okay. Let us know if you can hear him.
Hello, anybody out there? Can you hear me or anything? Thanks. Feel like ignorant. Hello, hello, hello. Can you hear me? Let's see. Loud and clear. Oh, good. It just barely shows any kind of dots at all on the thing. All right, terrific. Wanted to point out that I got a haircut, although it's starting to grow again. If you look at the picture of the original thing, it was pretty long hair. So I'm pleased to have this one cut off a little bit. Hello from Georgia, California, Australia, Queensland, Albuquerque, Wyoming. My heavens. By the way, I looked in the questions and it doesn't look like I think it's like there's only 2 questions. So I don't know what we're going to talk about. So you need to feed me questions that you need answered. I'll probably talk a little bit about some temple things that are coming. There's Maine and Boulder, Utah. All right, I loved Boulder. We lived in Thornton for 9 years or so when I worked there at Bell Labs. South Dakota, Connecticut, DC, San Antonio, Texas. It's good to see you all made it over from the other side, So I hope the trip from Facebook over to here wasn't bad. I was worried that if you didn't get a live post, you wouldn't remember to jump over here to YouTube where we're doing better with sound and seems like we can see things better. New Hampshire. Oh, okay. That's got to be 10 o'clock at night there, I guess. Ivans, Utah, Alberta, Canada. Well, welcome everybody. Well, I hope everybody's been doing well in this COVID-19 mess. I'm sorry about all of that, and I'm hoping everybody is doing well. We've been blessed, and our family has been safe so far, even though we have a family in Vegas and in California, pretty close to where things aren't so great. So they've been able to stay safe, which is great. Let's see. Somebody asked here, did you hear anything about Family History City's opening again? I have not heard anything. There's been a few temples open, but only for living ceilings, and the people have to, lights just came on over there. Living ceilings, and the people have to have already been endowed. So there's I think there's I can't remember how many they were, 12 temples or something that are open. No proxy or any of that kind of stuff. So they don't tell me when they open. I hear just like you all. If you subscribe to some of the church news stuff, then you'll see some of that pop up on your phone if you're subscribing it or on your computer. When can the FamilySearch capability be built to finding a connection between 2 people? I'm not one of them. We already have that capability. We shipped it a little while ago. So what you're talking about is the ability to find out whether or not how you're related to somebody else that's a live person on the site. You can do that today. It's in the I wonder if I don't know if I can share stuff here. I wonder if surely YouTube lets me share things. I don't know. I haven't tried enough YouTube straight directly. But you can go to, You can push on their contact name, and it'll pop up a card, and in that card, it'll say view your relationship. If both of you have turned on that feature, you can turn on the feature. If you haven't done so, you can click on the card, and it'll say enable relationship viewing. You click that. That'll turn you on to say you're willing to share how you related to other people. And then the other person has to also do that same thing. So both people have to say that they're willing to share how they're related. Once that's happened and you click on a contact name where both of you have said it's okay, you're just turning it on for everyone, by the way, when you turn it on. Then anytime you click on that, it'll tell you how you're related to that person who did that contribution. Yeah, I agree, Lynn. You're talking about social isolation is what it is, more than social distancing. I mean, I've been doing nothing but working from home for, it's probably been 2 months now. Let's see, it's probably been 2 months and a couple of weeks. So it's a little, you're getting tired. You get tired of sitting at the same place, and it seems like since there's no walking from one conference room to the next, it just gets, you get tired and achy when you get up and you're stiff, and it's difficult because you kind of hurt because you've been sitting in the same place all the time. They send you these things that say, hey, get up and walk around a little bit in between meetings. And I have no in between meetings. It goes from meeting to meeting to meeting to meeting every hour of the day, all day. And so usually the only time I get out is 30 minutes or so from lunch. And I'll sometimes take the dog out and see if I can make it around the block a couple times before I have to be back. Let's see. Let's see what other questions we got here. Yeah. Dear Myrtle reminds us they're only letting just like the parents get in to see those weddings, the ceilings. Okay, Raina says, I was helping a friend with a public account. I had signed in with her username and helper number. On a person page, I saw 3 hints, and she was signed in. No hints appeared on what was happening. Don't understand that. I need to, Rena, you need to send me an email, ron@FamilySearch.org, and give me the PID number of that person. Give me the username of the person you were helping and the PID you were looking at, because there should be no difference between what the public person sees and what you see when you're helping them. Link from FamilySearch search tab to the wiki takes you to a page which is not the old nice wiki page. Can this be fixed? No, they're moving the wiki stuff over to a new place. I don't know what it looks like. I haven't, since they started that work, I haven't gone over there and seen what it looks like. Let me go take a quick peek and see what it looks like. When they first did the wiki stuff, I was like, let's see, help. Oh no, search, research wiki. Yeah, it's different. They're rewriting all the wiki pages. They're moving them to a new system, and we'll just have to adjust to what they're doing. You probably need to give them a little bit of time so that they can make those changes, but we're moving to a new system that will help us better allow the wiki articles to be searched and found by Google and so forth. Explain the new merge process. Okay. So the way the new well, first off, before I go too far, I'm going to go answer the 2 questions that people submitted. There was 2 questions that was submitted for this particular thing. Remember, you can go into Facebook anytime, submit your questions. Oh, there's more questions now. Okay. So let me take a couple questions from the list first. Irene says, you said that you personally don't use RecordSeek to bring over sources that are not on FamilySearch.org from Ancestry. If you don't use RecordSeek, how do you bring them over? Well, what I do normally is I go get first off, I look to see if they're willing to let me download the images so that I can have them in my on my computer, that if I need them in the future. You can't always take those images and put them back up. So you have to know whether you're dealing with, U.S. Census sort of things that are public domain. You can go over to the where the censuses are and get it there. Then what I do is upload that image if it's okay for me to do so. If I can't do that, then what I do is I go copy the URL from that page over there, and then come back and create a source, put in that URL, and type in my own title and type in the information that I got from that source. I just was doing that kind of stuff before RecordSeek did their work. So I just never got in the habit of using RecordSearch. Deborah says, yeah, this is from Deborah. She says, I believe this might be a security issue. My husband received a message from someone that someone had commented on a photo he posted. He clicked on the link and was able to see and download the photo, even though he was not logged in. More importantly, he doesn't like the idea that anyone can download his family photos and make memes and plaster them all over the internet. I know you can make the photos so they are not downloadable. Is that something FamilySearch is willing to do? Thank you, Deborah. Yeah, we haven't done that. Let me go put this. Let me bring up my little notes. It's unclear to me whether we would want to stop people from being able to do that, because I think there are plenty of people who want to bring those images over into their Roots Magic or Ancestral Quest or Legacy or some of those sort of systems so that they have those pictures too, because they could be related. But photos have always been available for people to see if they have the link to that. Let me go look for Facebook. We are looking at some enhancements to photos when it comes to security, but I think we need to be cautious on how we use that. Let me put this note in there. All right. But currently, we do allow people to see the photos and download them. Have you seen any memes from this stuff? Just out of curiosity. Here's one from Carol. Said, is it possible to add a feature to search for a place, not just a name, and get a list of people who have a fact tied to that village? I am researching in Greece where surnames are linked to specific villages. Also, spelling of surnames can vary depending on the transliteration method used. Being able to search on village name and see the people who have the village would be immensely helpful in not adding duplicate names to the tree. Yeah, you can go in. I don't know if you'd want to, I guess you could do it without a name. But you're going to get a lot of information. You're going to get a lot of things. Let me just go double check this. I think you can go right into search. You're searching, let's see, let me go see what that was. Was that searching family tree? Yeah. So searching family trees, you're going to find, and let's see, you can look for birthplace. So I'll put in a place. And no, I guess it won't. You have to put in a letter or something. Yeah, it requires you to put in at least the last letter. You get too much data for the system, and so I just I had to put a T star in there to get in, and it starts with a T. So Well, let's say not just a name. You should be able to put in a name and a place if that's what you're talking about. It says here, a feature to search for a place, not just a name, and get a list of people who have facts tied to that village. Yeah, you should be able to put in a name and a place, which you can do in the find, and then just put in a place. Let me do it just right here. Yeah, it works just fine. And you get those places that come up at the top, and that's what I got, only those places. You can click exact search as well on the place if you want to be only find that one. And so that works. You just enter the place, birthplace in this case. Didn't put in a year, only put in a last name, and it worked just dandy. So you should be able to do that just fine. Okay, let me go back to YouTube. Everybody's still going? Okay, let me go see what's another question I have from here. Explain the new merge process. Okay. The new merge process, the intent of the new merge process is to help teach people how to use the merge, what things to look for, and also ways that you should things you should do, like comparing first before you go to start actually taking data and combining the two together. And it's also intended to sort of slow things down just a little bit, so that it's not going to significantly slow people, but it'll slow people down a little bit, so they spend some time thinking, spend some time understanding whether these are the right families. So the new search has 3 steps now. Today or earlier, before you just had one, you just merged it and you're done. And people would do that quickly and not really think about a lot of things. They just take everything or overwrite things. So we changed it to 3 steps to sort of for teaching purposes, and to help people be more careful, because merging can be can change a lot of data in one event, and that's caused some problems. So the first step is to compare. So we'll show the duplicate person. It's now on the left instead of the right, and the person that's surviving is now on the right. And you will compare the two. So we'll line up the families. We'll line up the vitals of the person. You go through that and you look at all of the vitals. Now I understand and there was a problem with the lining up, so they're working on some of that. If it's not done yet, I'm not sure. Can't remember if they told me yet it's done. And you line them up and you see, okay, the parents look the same, had the same kind of birth date, death date. The children all look the same. They match up. The dates and places seem to be in about the same area. The names are good enough to be equivalent. And then that's step 1. And so it's just go look at the family, and you get to see the parents, the siblings, the spouses, the children of that person, and you look at them all. And then if you feel satisfied that they still look like it's the same family, you push next. And then that's phase 2 is deciding what information to take from the duplicate and put on the survivor. Now, what you want to be careful with the duplicate is you want to make sure the information is unique that you want to bring over. You want to bring over the best information. We will automatically select unique items for you to bring over. So as part of step 2, we'll analyze it and say, okay, these residences are not over there, so we're going to put them up to be moved. So forth, that's stuff like that. We'll move over sources that are not already on that other person. And you'll see that as you go through step 2, and you can choose to move over things we didn't automatically pick. You can choose to undo and remove things that we automatically picked. So you can still in control of what things come over and what things don't. You always want to make sure that you have the most rich person as the survivor, because that has all the rich data from history, a big change log with all the changes on the person. You want to keep that around. So make sure that that's the person that you're going to have as the survivor. So when you're looking at it, if you see lots of information on one and not much on another, make sure the one that has least information is on the duplicate side, because you can switch them to make sure that you save that rich person that has the most data and the most history in the system. That's step 2. Once you've chosen which direction, whether you want to take it or not take it, then we go to step 3. And in step 3, we show you what the changes to the person are going to be made. It highlights in yellow the things that are going to be changed. And the idea there is for you to look through that and make sure that you didn't accidentally choose poorly. And if you do, you just hit back and you go back to the previous step and fix it, and then go forward again and take a look again and say, okay, does this look right? Does this look like the right things? Is it still the same people? If you feel comfortable with that, then you can push finish merge, and then that merge will occur in the system, and then a little undo will pop up, will slide out. It's called a toast. A toast will come up and say undo, and if you're going, I should have done that, I realized I shouldn't have pushed it, you just push that undo, and then it all goes back to what it was before. Now we also are putting warnings inside of the merge process. So if you happen to have, here's some merge warnings that we're working on. Some are in there and some aren't quite there. For example, if the birth dates, for instance, are more than three years apart, 3 to 5, we're still testing which is the best way to go there. 3 to 5 years apart, we'll give you a warning. Because if you see somebody that has a birth date or a death date that's like 3 to 5 years different, you might reconsider whether or not this is the same person, even though they have very similar names. Lots of people can have the same names. We'll give you warnings for things like that both sides have an exact date for some event, but the dates aren't the same. So if one says it's 13th of May, 1960, and the other one says it's 20th of May, 1961, then we'll give you a warning that said these are exact dates. And if it's an exact date, then that probably came from more rich information to create that person. So you may want to rethink whether this is really the same people. And other warnings that we want to do, such as you're trying to merge a father and a parent and a child together. You're trying to merge a husband and a wife together, or a couple together. You're trying to merge them as one person. Things like that that could happen, but we want to help prevent those from happening. So that's the purpose of the new merge. That's how it works. We'll continue to refine it and add more warnings and stuff. But remember, the intent is to help slow people down and let them look at it a little closer and think a little more and decide if that's a good merge to take or not. Let me see another question here. So McKay asked, in the leader report, I'm assuming this is the FHR, the Family History Activity Report that each stake and ward gets. Says one of the terms is members submitting a name. What are the ways a submission can be made? Submission is essentially one of two things. It's reserving a person and printing a card. So just reserving is not good enough. You have to print the card, or you have to share with the temple. Okay, that's the two things you can do to get a submitting tick inside of your ward or stake. The person has to reserve it and submit it to the temple, or reserve it and print it. Well, we don't care whether it's printed or reserved. Now, the other thing that happens is they could push ordinances ready. If they push ordinances ready, that's a different person than the person who shared it with the temple. If that person clicks ordinance ready and prints the cards, then that person also gets counted as a submitter, because they did take a name from the temple in this case, and they did print it, and they often complete them. Some don't get them done in time, some do. So that's what constitutes a submitter. They either printed a card or they shared it to the temple. Okay. Will they do any new trainings for consultants anytime soon? Not sure. I know they have some new people that are working on the consultant planners and working on that stuff. So, and I suspect we usually do that during Roots Tech, which we had earlier. Let's keep going here. Let me go back to the ask a question ones from before. This is from David. He said, many ancestor histories have been scanned at books.familysearch.org. How do you attach these books as a source of or memory in Family Tree? I couldn't find a good way. For example, my pioneer ancestor, David Simpson Cook, has a book written all about him and it gives me the URL. So what I would do is like what I said I do when I want to take a source from another website. I'd go to that book. I'd copy the URL at the top of the FamilySearch book thing where it's showing the book. And I would take that URL, go to that person page, create a new source on that person page, get the title, put the name of the book, the title of the book, plop in the URL to that digitized book on FamilySearch, and then write some information in the notes about what's interesting about it, what's about, who's it talk about, put a few interesting notes in there, save it. Now there's a source on that person that references that book. Okay, that's what I would do. Let's see. Next one. This is from Jim. When a person has 2 or more marriages, the number of children is currently only shown for the preferred marriage in the person page. Family section. Please show the number of children for each marriage. Doing so makes it much easier to tell which marriages had children. It would be great to have an option whether to also show the names of children for all marriages. Yeah, Jim, the reason we don't do that is performance. So when you have a preferred set, then we'll do that for the one relationship. But if that person had 2 or 3 spouses and kids with all those spouses, that's a lot of data coming down. And so we don't want to do that until people demand that data. Because most people would not have lots of spouses and lots of kids. So it's a performance thing. If we add that kind of in there, then what would happen is other parts of the world would struggle in receiving that information. I guess there could be an option where somebody opts in and is willing to pay the penalty for that. But that's the reason why we don't do it. I'll have to think about whether we want to provide that option. Usually sending a lot more data usually frustrates people more than it helps them. Let's see. So here's a question on here. It says, so if a couple had a child and were not married or lived together, you said to seal them to the grandparents, but how about if the parents were not married either? Who do you seal them to? Okay, you'd have to help me understand that. This is El Hernandez. So you're saying the grandparents weren't married or the parents weren't married? They had a child, the parents were not married. And then you're saying seal them to the grandparents, but how about if the grandparents, I'm assuming, were not married either? Who do you seal them to? The point is did they live together? So if you know that the grandparents had lived together for some period of time, like there's some records that said they were together from this census to the next census, or that there's records that show them as a couple for a period of time, not just one night or one affair or whatever, but they actually lived together, then that's sufficient for you to go and seal and that the child to their grandparents. So that's what you need to be looking for. Traditionally it's grandparents. I guess you could seal them to other great grandparents if you need. So take a look at that. If you have more questions or the case gets a little weird, send me an email, ron@familysearch.org. I'll take a look at it and see if your particular case with the PIDs in there, and we can take a look at it and give a recommendation there. Yeah, and so Jew, yeah, I think you sent me an email about this one. Let me rephrase the question. I'd like to see how two people in a town, both in FamilySearch, are related, not wanting to see how I'm related. Yeah, I think you sent me an email about this one. It would be a PID-to-PID relationship. We have that on the list of something to look at. Yeah, we have something like that to look at, but we haven't planned for it to be done yet. Okay, it says a lot of index records are being put online, but for a long time, no new images are making it to the FamilySearch website in records. Is that because of working at home? Yes, it is, because we've had to stop camera operations in many parts of the world because of the pandemic. And so those volunteers have not been taking pictures because they can't go to those buildings and they can't be around those people. The people that might gather there at that building. So there haven't been, as far as I'm aware, there haven't been any pictures taken for some time, and they probably won't get started. And it's unclear, what happens to many of the camera operators are missionaries. So I'm not clear. Some of them probably were sent home and are done. Some of them are probably waiting till the pandemic is deemed okay for them to go back. So I don't know when that would come back, but I would agree that the most likely reason is because we had to stop camera operations because of the pandemic. Place search. You're limited to a small number of names in the results, but I think if you do it 2 or 3 times, the list expands. Okay, that was additional information. Are notes and comments on person's detailed page saved when the person is merged? I don't know what you mean by comments, but notes absolutely are brought over automatically. So are memories are also brought over automatically. And we don't even give you option to choose to do it or not do it. They come over automatically. And comments, which I assume is discussions or something, those would all come over automatically as well. So yeah, all of that come when you do a merge. Can you do, meaning I'm assuming you meaning us, do a biological tree and adoptive tree in an easy way? No, we don't provide that currently. I'm not actually sure how that would actually look. So, is an adopted tree only adopted, or is adopted? I mean, or if you're talking about just you and you're adopted and you want to see your adoptive tree and you want to see your biological tree and you want to see them sort of as 2 different trees, then you can do that. That's not an issue. You just go into you, and just like you can go into others and say, add both parents. You add your biological parents, you add your adoptive parents, and then you can choose which set of parents right in the pedigree chart, or in the other charts you can choose different set of parents that you want to see the line for. You choose which one you want to be preferred. That's what the purpose of preferred was, is if you have adoptive lines or step lines or whatever, you could choose which one you prefer to have initially open when you come into the tree. But you can always switch the set of parents that you have or that child has if you're further up in the line. And then that set of parents will show and you'll see that tree. But you have to select it along the way. We don't have any one button, show me adoptive lines. So that doesn't really mean anything to me unless you're just talking about yourself and you want to see your adopted line or not. Do you have a target date for when we will be able to pull names from temple file for ordinance work. Yeah, that's we're working to finish that end of the month or first part of next month. So we're working on that. That's the plan. No guarantees, things happen. Use relative finder to see if two people are related. Yeah, you can do that. If you are willing to send your tree over to BYU, you can go and do that. Do life sketches survive after a merge? That's a good question. I do not believe we bring over life sketches. Okay, I'm gonna have to put a note on that because I don't think we do any of that. Let me go make a note here. Let's see. Our life sketches brought over in a merge. I don't believe they are, but I'll find out. All right, let's go back to ask a question. We have one more, and then what? We're done? Well, I'm sure you have to come up with a few more questions, or I'll talk about some things we're looking at, we're doing. How can we access the to-do list? I know it appears on the sign-in page, but what about when you're working in the individuals page? How do I add a list from there? And the answer is, we don't have an answer for you right now. We believe that the to-do list can be very powerful. What you see on the home page, the login home page, is just a small part of the to-do list system that has been built. And it has the possibility of being able to be placed in a bunch of other places, like on person pages and maybe on sources when you're looking at search results or something. We think that would be a powerful tool. We've been talking about it recently. We have no plans to move along in that because we're currently deep in a lot of changes that we have committed to complete this year. So it is on the list. It is something we think can be very valuable. You're not the only one to want to have a good to-do list capability across the site in many different places that you can add to-dos. And wouldn't it be great if you're on a person page and you just click a button, said add a to-do, and creates one for you and pops up a little thing where you can add a little note, and then you're done. And it remembers the PID and lets you link to it so you can go back to it. So anyway, I think several of those things would be good. And we're talking about them, but we haven't done anything yet. This is responding from a prior question. Perhaps a tree, including adopted people, might be visible through a descendancy list from an ancestor and showing 4 generations of descendants. Yeah, I don't even know if it shows adoptive descendants. Anybody know? Anybody tried that? I don't think I know if that does that. I think it probably does show adopted people, but it probably doesn't tell you that it's an adopted person. I will check on that. Okay, Patricia was talking about, it seems that like the pictures you added to memories appeared on the opening page and rolled down as more pictures are added. It doesn't seem to have moved for months. Yeah, that's because the purpose of that side thing is to just sort of alert you when new things have come, new pictures and stuff. The problem is we only look, I think we only look like 8 generations up and a couple of generations down. And if there hasn't been any new pictures added to that group of people in your tree, then we got no new stuff to show. So we just show you the stuff that's been there before. So some people have mentioned they'd like to turn that off or whatever. And we're discussing what we should do there, because over time, there's just not a whole lot of pictures usually being added. and sometimes they'll be a little further out. Although 8 generations should get you to the point where they didn't have pictures, kind of things. But that's the reason why it can look stale a little bit. Questions. I've run out of questions that were submitted previously, so be sure and ask your questions. If you're just joining us, welcome, Warren and Sue. Stan says, if a temple ordinance expires, are they placed into shared with temple, or is the ordinance reservation totally canceled? Right now, it is removed from your list and put into the put into the temple list, but it's put in with a special flag that makes it still show up as green, and you can take it and re-reserve it, and you'll have the full 2 years. Now, what's going to change, this hasn't happened yet, but this will happen in the next month or so that I was talking about, is that when temple ordinances expire on your list, they will automatically be shared with the temple. They'll show up on your shared with temple list. You can pull them back if you want to, and you can do that. But that's the plan, is that they will automatically share with the temple rather than go back to the tree unreserved from anybody. And that's mostly because we felt like if somebody was found and reserved, then they deserve to not be lost to time for somebody else to wander around and find them and reserve them again. So once they've been reserved, we feel an obligation to make sure their work gets done. And if you were unable to complete it in the inspired days, then we wanted to make sure it still has a path to be completed. How are things going with family groups, shared temple reservations? We just went through our first phase of asking for proposals to be able to begin building these things, and that was tentatively approved. We have a little bit of more research to do. That's going to take us a few weeks. Then we'll go back for the final approval, and then we're going to start. We'll start building. It's unclear when, and then at that time we'll know how long it's going to take, and so it's coming. It's actually starting to move. We're actually getting time where we have enough things done that we can now start picking that up. It's all based on priorities, and we have lots of priorities and lots of things to do. Ju says, I get alerts from new pictures that are uploaded by someone else, but is there a way to not get those audio alerts at 2 a.m.? I don't know. This must be coming from your phone, I guess. You're getting an alert because I guess you'd have to turn off notifications. I would think that the app probably wouldn't control that. But I think on your phone, you can go into you can go into someplace and say, don't tell me about stuff for a certain time. Is anybody aware of that? I don't know. I never get notified of that. Or if it's that time in the morning, I don't hear it because I'm dead asleep. So, yeah, I don't know. I'd have to go look at general. I'd dig around inside of general and see if there's a way or someplace to set don't prompt me with notifications during these times of the day. So I'd have to go look around online to see if there's a way to do that. I don't remember seeing live sketches aren't on the merge screen, and so I got to check to see if they only move it over if there was no live sketch on the survivor, because there's certainly no way to blend the two together in any intelligent way by the computer. We no longer see our own uploaded documents on the homepage, just those added by other users. Yeah, that's because it's to tell you stuff that's happening in your lines to help you find new things. Lynn says, I'm dubious about BYU relative finders. So this little Welch goes supposedly related to Muhammad Ali. Someone has made a mistake on the tree somewhere. Is it my to-do list is to sort it out. Okay. Yeah, Lynn says put your phone on silent. Yeah, well, sometimes you have to get those calls sometimes though. Larry Lee, I haven't done it yet. Haven't done it, but you can control from your phone what notifications you get and when. I think, yeah, that's true. Yeah, it's a phone feature. And when someone passed away at sea, what is the correct way to enter the location for being standardized? Ooh, that's a good question. I would think that I believe that I would, let me go look here. I think that we probably have oceans in there. Let me go find out. And you could probably put a particular ocean like Pacific or Atlantic or something like that. If you're real adventurous, I guess you could put in, what's going on here, buddy? Getting a delay. Could be I'm doing video, that's why. Things seem to be slowing up a little bit. FamilySearch is not coming up for me right now. It's spinning. I'll have to try it a little bit. I try looking for oceans. I kind of get the feeling that we have oceans in there. But for some reason, my Google is unhappy. Let's see. Okay, I'm going to log in, sign in. Just a second. I'm going to take a second and look that up. All right, let's see how it works. Yeah, something must be going on with FamilySearch or my computer. So I'm not going to be able to answer that because they're both kind of spinning out a little bit. Let me go look here one other place. Okay, I don't see anything that seems to be reported yet as a problem. So we'll just keep on going. I'll have to get you an answer for that. Yeah, I think they have oceans. I think we do have standardized oceans. And we have seas. Okay. The control can be on an app. Okay, on that by Android. Okay, usually registered. What's the proper way to deal with stillbirths? I believe that's in other information. You put in the birth and the death beginning the same day. And then down in other information, you can say stillborn. There's an option down in other information to say stillborn. You can put in your sourcing information about how you know it's stillborn, and that's how you deal with stillborn. It's just it's a birth and a death, and then you qualify that by marking stillborn in the other information below, and that will change the way temple things work. So stillborn don't require ceilings and things like that, I believe, if I recall. I do. All right. We do have oceans in there. All right. So I would put the ocean in. Ron, do you know if you'll be at Education Week this year, if it's still happening? Yeah, I'm registered for Education Week. I've sent them. I have to get working on it, to build the slides. But yeah, I'm planning on being there at Education Week this year. How can you show that someone is cremated in the place name slot? Cremated is also a other things. You can put it in the note in your reason statement. You could say they were cremated if you want, where you put in the death. And you can also, I would go to the other section as well. There's a cremated option there. You just put cremated and it has date, place, and the notes as well. And that way they'll know there was a cremation there. It'll show up in the other section. Since life sketches are not seen in the merge process, could there be an alert that one or both persons have a life sketch? Yeah, that's something we'll have to look at. Let me go get to my notes. Let's see. Are they over? If they exist on both, can there be a warning? All right, I'll put that on my question. All right, so I got nothing left. So we have about, how long we got? 10 minutes, 9 minutes. So I want to make sure that everybody's aware, all the members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I want to make sure you're aware, and you should have noticed that your reservations are continuing to extend. So no reservations will be expired during this Corona-19 event pandemic. And so you'll notice each day that your expiration date moves. Because it's not appropriate for you to lose your reservation because you can't go to the temple anyway because they're all closed. And we won't worry about turning that back on until we discuss it with the temple department and they feel that there's sufficient enough access to all the temples for proxy work that we will turn that back on. Now, when we turn it back on, we're also going to make sure that one of two things will happen. One, let's say you had a year left on a reservation. When we turn it back on, expiration again, after all the temples are open and there's sufficient enough access that you can get to them, that when we turn it on, we'll make sure you still have a year left. So we'll make sure that it is at the same level as it was when this whole thing started. So you didn't lose any time. And if you happen to have a reservation, like ordinance ready reservation, or maybe one of your own reservations, and it was less than 90 days left when we started extending expirations, then when we turn off the extension and we now start expiring reservations, you will have a minimum of 90 days, regardless of how much time you had left. So if you had a month left, then when we turn expirations back on, you'll have 90 days left. We want to give you time to be able to get to the temple and complete those reservations, okay? So I wanted you to know that. The next things, there's a couple other things we're working on. We're continuing to work on the family groups like we mentioned earlier. We went through a first pass for those who joined us a little later, the first pass to show what we believe how it should work and what phases it should work in. And there was some additional work they'd like us to do, so we're evaluating that. Our intent is also we are going to reduce the number of colors. Now you could be happy about this or mad about it, but we noticed there were so many colors that everybody wanted to have a legend everywhere, or they struggled to remember what each of the colors meant. So we're reducing the colors, and essentially, when you look at a reservation, or you look at a person in the tree with regards to temple, there's really only 3 states that there are 3 or 4 states. It's either ready to go and reserve, so you're ready to go get it. That's one state. That's what the green means, and it'll still be green. There's also another state that's like done. Okay, so it's like done or ready to go, or it's taken. is another one, meaning somebody's got it, and so you can't get it. And then the other one is there's a problem with the reservation, or there's a problem with the person, like it's missing information, it doesn't qualify. There's lots of different reasons why they may not be green for you to do it. Name is messed up or something. So those will probably be the 4 states that we're going to represent in the colors, because that's really the information you need. Is it ready to go? Is it requestable? Is it done? Is it requestable? Does somebody else have it, or is it got a problem? And then when you drill in to look at the problem, it'll tell you what the problem is, so that you can go fix it, and then that should turn green. And when that problem's fixed, so 4 colors should be easy to do. You're only, personally, I'm only looking for like the green ones and the problem ones, so that I can fix the problem, so they can go. And if they're green, I'm gonna grab them. So that's where the direction we're going to simplify. Let's see, for non-family search, here's a question here. For non-family search sources, you have a way to remove a person's attached to the source, but not to add a person unless you use the source box. For non-family search sources, you have a way to remove a person attached to a source, but not to add a person unless you use the source box. I don't think that's true. Depends. Okay, let's explain a little bit about how sources work. The source is created unless you and in the past, whenever you created a source, it always was created in your source box. And then you would go take that source box source, you go to the person page, and you say, okay, add from my source box, and you would attach it. That's how we first started with sources. Later on, we got the source linker tool. And the source linker tool, you had the option to say, don't put it in my source box if you don't want to. And if you did, that's great. And you attached it. And then as you use source linker, where record's on one side and the person's on the other, and you say, yeah, this is the same, attach. And when you do the attach, it creates a source and hooks it to that person and attaches it to that person. So now let's say, I'm assuming the question you're asking there, Jew, is okay. It's not a source that you created in your source box initially. Maybe it's one, whether it's that or whether it's the source linker one that you attached it. Now you have a source attached to somebody, however it got there. And so you want to detach that source and put it on somebody else, okay, because it's on the wrong person. So yeah, you want to probably copy it to your source box. That's one path. You could copy it to your source box and then delete and then detach the source from that person. You could also attach that source to the other person, right? Let's see, you could do that. Can you do that? Yeah, you'd have to save it to your source box to be able to attach it to the other person. Either save it before you detach it or save it after. You have to save it before you detach it, or you could save it, attach it to another person, and then detach the source from that person. So yeah, you have to go through the source box for that. We don't have a tool that does that for you. But if you have thousands of sources, how can you add another person to a non-family search source? I don't want to duplicate all the source attachments, i.e. obituary, wedding, or reunion with lots of folks. Thousands of sources on one person? Yeah, you have to send me an email with a little bit more understanding of what the situation is for you. Yeah, if you have a lot of homemade sources, then yeah, you got some work. You've got old school work. This is the way it was at the beginning of sources. You have to sort of manually attach and detach stuff. When will we be able to add a title on a memory photo that we didn't put in? They're working on that right now. They're working on it. It's going to take them. All of memories has to be rewritten because it's not scaling to the level it needs to be. So they have to do that work first. That's going to take into next year. And as part of that work, they're going to move to open-edit model, more open-edit model like we do in the tree. So you'll be able to correct titles. You'll be able to correct places and dates. And I think descriptions, you won't be able to delete or any of that kind of stuff because the owner still has control of that. So it's going to be a while before you get that capability. Colleen, so many people don't add a title, and it would be helpful for the find features. Yeah. What I recommend using is now that we have is these topic tags. That could be a good way to, anybody can take off a topic tag or add a topic tag to a memory. So I would create a topic tag that interests you to be able to find that particular picture. Like maybe it's a topic tag is missionary or Civil War person, some sort of topic of groupings of people. And you could put a topic tag on there and then search for that topic tag, bring all those pictures back that have that topic tag on it. Let's see. I attached people and I knew at the time. I learned later how others were related and wanted to attach that person. If you're talking about sources still, Jew, I'm assuming you can take the same source and attach it to multiple people, by the way. If you created it in your source box, you can attach it to multiple people. Now, be careful when you do that because if you edit the source, you're editing it for all copies that are out there, right? So that was how we started, and people got frustrated because they wanted to change the title, and it ended up changing the title to everybody. So that's when we got to the point where you go copy it, and we make a copy of it. So that didn't happen. To detach it from the wrong person, go to that person's sources and detach. Yeah. Yeah, people have asked for search as well in the source box. They are aware of that request. So there you go. Yeah, when you want to add additional person to a source, you have to go attach it to that person. So that could be, if you got thousands, no matter when you have more than 10 or 15, you got a lot of work. All right, everyone. I want to thank you. This has been good. Thanks for asking lots of questions. We had an opportunity to talk a little bit about some new stuff coming and how the expiration dates are working. And thank you very much. I hope that this has been a better platform with YouTube, that you can hear me better, you can see things better. I hope everyone was able to find it. Seems like we had a good crowd come, so that's great. We'll schedule another Facebook Live event over there, and we'll do it the same way. I'll give you a link over to the YouTube, and then give you another post 15 minutes or so before we start, so you have a chance to get reminded about it, and then come on over. So we'll schedule that up. Thank you very much, everybody. Stay safe and take care of yourself. And thank you very much, and we'll see you next time. Bye.